All right, again, here we are sitting with Captain Marty, and I'll tell you that the stories just keep coming, and I just get glued to just what comes out of Captain Marty's mouth, if that makes any sense or if that even sounds right. But Marty, let's just quit the chitter chatter from me. What have you got for us today? What's another story?
If you're actually glued, I have some paint thinner out of my truck. If that would help you,
we might need to go get it.
You like the stories where danger's involved. I noticed that.
Kind of, sort of. There, I don't know. Danger's my middle name, Captain Marty.
Well, I got a great story from right out in our own backyard. It involves the Spencer family and the old War Cry, one of the coolest scallop boats that ever fished our waters. I'll be right back to tell you the story.
The desire for being on the water is what draws people to the Outer Banks. OBX Boat Company in Kill Devil Hills shares that desire with you. The only full-service, Yamaha-authorized dealer on the beach, OBX Boat Company is committed to providing you the best possible boat ownership experience. Their carefully selected brands of center consoles and family-friendly pontoon boats are all powered by ultra-reliable Yamaha motors. They offer excellent financing options as well. To learn more and see their inventory, visit obxboatco.com.
Hi, I'm LB Daniels, and when you want great local seafood, you go to Fresh Catch Seafood in Wanchese. How do I know it's great? My daddy is one of the fishermen that brings it to the docks. At Fresh Catch Seafood, you will get local seafood right from their fish house. They are a family-owned business that knows the name of every fisherman that comes to their docks. Visit their social media pages to see the latest catches. My daddy would love to put his tuna on your dinner plate, so get it now from Fresh Catch Seafood and Wanchese.
So, Marty, danger. Yeah, I kind of like them. Tell me, what kind of danger are we in today?
Well, danger lurks when you're in the trawl boat business anyway. It can be, as you know, from being a Wancheser, it's a dangerous profession.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's all kinds of trawl. When I say trawl boating, we're talking about boats that drag nets out of Wanchese, go offshore, or back in the Sound. But this was not a trawler. This was a scallop boat. You remember back in the 70s, there was a huge industry and a lot of money. A lot of people got very wealthy. And others, of course, made a living and supplied employment and fed families and put kids through college and all those things. One family, the Spencer family, known best now for Spencer Boat Works, with Paul Spencer, but they had a trawler called the War Cry. Not only did they have a trawler, you're too young to remember, but they also had a very popular seafood restaurant in Mans Harbor at the time. It was one of those old school, really good local seafood restaurants. And it was before my time, but I've heard so many. And they're, by the way, on a side note, their claim of their most famous thing was their hush puppies. And believe it or not, about 2 weeks ago at our men's Bible study over in Englehart, we had some hush puppies with the Spencer recipe for hush puppies that was secretly given to Gerald Craddock, our pastor, and whose brother was James Craddock, longtime trawl boat captain on the Captain Ralph. But the Spencers still have that mix for the hush puppies. I'm going to tell you, it was good. So I said, where can I get that recipe? You cannot get that recipe. They laughed at me.
Oh, Lord.
So I just ate all I could eat. And anyway, but that was the Spencer family. The War Cry was no slouch of a boat. Huge boat, 90-some feet long. I think they used the term high-waisted. It had a real high bow and cabin way up on the front. And there was a whole bunch of kids in the Spencer family. But Duke Spencer, I think you know Duke. Mm-hmm. Duke, who's still a charter boat captain in Oregon, was the captain. Like their daddy, when he bought this boat, said, all you boys are going to run this boat. This is going to be the family business. It's going to support a restaurant. We're going to export scallops like everybody else, So they had this beautiful big boat. And then scallop crews are a lot of people on a scallop crew. There was 8 or 9 on the boat. That included Paul Spencer, the famous boat builder now, and former charter boat captain and my old and dear friend. And then also his brother, Mike Spencer, also fished through our charter boat fleet. But back in the day, Duke, Paul, and Mike, and about 7 other, you know how the rest of the crew,
right.
Anybody you can pick up off the dock.
Anybody you can grab, yeah.
Anybody you can get out of jail, whatever.
Yeah, that's about right.
Whoever is tough enough to go out there, and they were long trips, remember?
Uh-huh.
They were like 10 days to 25 days.
Calling scallops.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and you cut them on the back of the boat. You would know more about it. I would.
Yeah.
You sit in that house anyway, and they drag a big, what's called a scallop dredge, and it bumps along the bottom, and then they pull it up, and they got a big boom would be the thing that goes out over the side. I think
Right.
they also have one that goes over the stern. It's like a winch and all kinds of cables and pulleys and things like that. So they're out there and they're having a good trip, and they're all at work. Captain Duke is the captain. Now, from the bridge of the war cry, you can see out over the bow deck. But if he wanted to see out over the stern deck, he had to walk to the back of the cabin and look to see what was going on. So they're dragging the scallop dredge, and it comes time to pull it up. And I believe it was on the port side of the boat. And they're pulling the scallop dredge up, like they'd pull it every hour or two, to see what's in there. And as it came to the surface of the water, and they're somewhere up in the northeast of Oregon Inlet, about 40 miles. They're probably in 20 or 30 fathoms of water, clear water, pretty. But as it's coming, they can see something is snagged in the dredge. You can't figure out what. And Paul and Mike, the younger brothers, they're looking over the stern. When they finally, that thing breaks the water, they realize there's what's known in military terms as a 500-pound bomb. That's a big bomb. That's the kind they drop out on the bombing range here, the Navy bombing range. Mm-hmm. All through World War II, a 500-pound bomb, that was the term for that bomb, is a mature, big bomb. Well, you can imagine 500 pounds. So they look, and it's a bomb. It's not a mine, a landmine. It's a bomb. It was dropped from an airplane, and it was, for whatever reason, it's still intact. So at least it hadn't blown up. Now, was it a live bomb or not? There's no way of knowing. You and I both know the history of the Outer Banks. There have been live ordnances from World War II on many occasions found. And anyway, they're looking, all of a sudden they see this bomb, and they've got that thing pulled up out of the water, swinging like on a pendulum. And they start yelling and hollering. Well, Duke comes to he's way up there on the flying bridge. He comes back looks out the window, and they're giving you can imagine what the hand signals were like, and it's stuck. It's cable. They can't just reach out there, and they're not going to lose their scallop dredge, but they got to get shed of that bomb that's in the dredge. And what they did, one of the things they did was, the whole crew, the substandard crew, I'll call them, this other seven, they abandoned the stern of the boat, and they all ran up onto the bow stem, up onto the bow of the boat. Like, that would be far enough away if the bomb went off. At least maybe they'd be blown over the bow or something like that. In fact, that's how Duke knew there was trouble. When he looked out there and saw the crew all trying to get off the boat, and there's no getting off the boat when you're 40 miles offshore. So that left the family representatives, Duke as captain, and Paul and Mike, to deal with the bomb and try not to get everybody killed. So they masterfully pulled that thing up and got it over the side. Now, can you imagine reaching out there and grabbing with your hands a bomb, a live bomb, and it's stuck in a metal scallop dredge? So they got it over, and they were getting ready to set it down on the boat. We'll take a little break right here, and I'll tell you how this story ended.
Boasting phenomenal seafood dishes, a great menu, and waterfront views with deck seating, Striper's Bar and Grill at the Shallowbag Bay Marina in Manio serves a casual, fun-filled dining experience with an Outer Banks flair. With 3 floors to choose from, you're bound to find the perfect seat for you and yours while enjoying great food and fantastic drinks. To see our menu and to catch a glimpse of the beautiful views, go online to stripersbarandgrill.com. Striper's Bar and Grill at the Shallowbag Bay Marina in Manio, where everyone's a VIP.
All right, Marty, they got it up. What happened? What happened?
Well, of course, Paul was giving the orders, is the way I heard the story, and he's like, they had to lay it down on the deck right in the middle of the boat, and then unhook the scallop dredge that it was snagged. Those things have detonators on them and all that stuff. You can imagine. And really, like so many of the stories I tell you, calling the Coast Guard or going into port and having that's not an option. You got 10 head of people you got to feed and make a paycheck. You're like 2 or 3 days into a 10-day trip. You're going to get the bomb out. In fact, you really are supposed to report those things.
Yeah.
And the jury's still out on that part of the story. But so they got the scallop dredge clear. And then the next thing they had to do is, what do we do now? And Paul said he looked up at the cabin and all that. The rest of the crew, they're peeking around the side of the cabin. Like, is it safe to come back there yet? So they ended up, they had a boom with just like for lifting up all kinds of stuff. And they tied a rope around the tail of that bomb and very carefully hoisted it up. And as they hoisted it up, it started swinging back and forth. And of course, there's a lot of shouted instructions like, don't drop it. Hope you tied that knot good. So they got it over the side of the boat, no problem. And they were trying to lower it down. And the plan was, one of them was just going to have to cut the rope at the winch and just lose a little rope. But you're not going to reach out there and untie it,
No.
So while this 95-foot boat is gently rolling back and forth in the seas, which were big ground swells that day, they let loose their little guide rope they had, and as soon as they did, that thing swang and clanged right into the side of the boat. It was swinging like a pendulum.
Oh, Lord.
And it went bong like that. It did not go off. But Duke was given the orders, cut. I can't use the language.
Right. Cut the rope.
Cut the
so
rope.
many words.
Let's get rid of this thing. So they cut the rope. The bomb sank back to wherever they were at that point. Duke made notes on it, where they dropped it back, and he told the rest of the charter fleet, but nobody else, including any government people, were ever made aware of that bomb. So luckily, they all lived to fish that day, the rest of that day, and into careers. But the war cry, man, I tell you, that was a day I'm glad I wasn't on board.